Welcome to the BAM Pod.
Take the plunge and jump into new favorites at Black Bear Diner. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we've got you covered.
Good old-fashioned family food, Black Bear Diner.
All right, welcome in, everybody, to the BAM Pod. That's right, I'm here tonight with Mr. Roy Hawk is on the line. That's right, one of our Super 60 anglers. And you know what? I found out that he does a whole lot more, and we're going to talk about that on this show. You know, it's summertime, and that's what we're kind of going to talk about a little bit with Roy. Is we're going to talk about the whole summertime, how he attacks it, how he goes at it. And you know what? He fishes all over the country, so he's a great guy to listen to. So, Roy, welcome into the show, man.
Thank you, brother. Ow! I got a little signature howl I always do. So.
Awesome.
I was raised by a pack of huskies, so
all right, I like it. You know, that's I hope not the chainsaws. Let's let's talk about some fishing, man. Like, we got an hour here to kind of talk about some good old fishing, and just we'll do the Black Bear Diner thing. Oh, I did that wrong. We'll do the Black Bear Diner thing. good old fashioned family fun.
Heck yeah, sounds good.
Bass fishing talk. So, I was looking for somebody tonight to do a show with, and I'm not going to say you were the last one on the list, because you weren't. You were like number 2, but it's one of those things that sometimes you just find right, exactly. Sometimes you just find that person that you go, wow, I'm glad that this is who I picked up. You know what? Because Roy, you mentioned a few things in there, and I'd love to talk. I know you're on the Super 60. I see you on the stage. Obviously, you come across and you're there. You said it already. You're kind of a low-key guy, but that's okay. You know what? That's bass fishing, and that's this world out here. But, hey, I'd love to talk a little bit about, let's start off with what it is you do, because you have told me you're a professional angler. Like, this is all you do is fish. And I'd love to talk a little bit about that and what else you fish besides the Super 60.
Yeah, I'm kind of a unicorn these days, I guess, because I fished professionally and full time since about August 2007. Actually, is when it was. So we're coming up on the anniversary date here in a couple months. So, but yeah, that's all I've done. A good chunk of my living is off of winnings. I do have some good partnerships and some good sponsors that help me out along the way. And I've just kind of lived that way for a long, long time. I fish as many as, around 40 tournaments a year.
Oh.
And I'll fish everything from team tournaments to pro tournaments. I fished on the national tours, every single one of them, except for MPFL, at least for a period of time, including Bassmaster Elite Series, Bass Pro Tour, FLW Tour. So
wow.
Just kind of, I've been just doing it for quite a long time and just love to fish and fish everything I possibly can. Every year I kind of get everybody's schedule and I put it all together and try and figure out, how to maximize my year with fishing, and try and get to as many championships as possible, and things like that. And try and get to where I'm around the most money available. However I can build that schedule and kind of fill in every week with something, or try to. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, a lot of work, and but I love it, and there's not many people that take that type of approach these days. Like, there's tour guys, but that's like all they fish.
Right.
Or they'll fish a few things in between. And then you have, regional guys, and they have a job, and, they fish some tournaments, or they'll pick one circuit they're going to do or something like that. But I fish everything from top to bottom, all across the country. This year, I'll only have to go back east twice. I went once in the spring and fished 3 Toyota Series in a row, trying to qualify for their championship. And then I'll have to do another trip in the fall, which will set me up with 3 championships back east, plus another Toyota Series, all in a row. So I can go out there, knock down 4 tournaments, come home.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that's the way I built my schedule. So just to try and give myself the best shot at the most money and travel the least, so to speak, at least those long runs back east. It's hard for me to go back there for one tournament and come home, then go back, and
Yeah, that would be
that type of thing.
a tough one. I was going to
Yeah.
ask you, do you now do you just have a boat back there and boat out here? Do you keep, do you have how do you work that, or do you just
Wh-
drive the whole thing?
When I was on tour, I would have a boat in both places, and I'd fly back and forth.
Yeah.
And I bought my wife a Sequoia, so that was our backup tow vehicle. So when I was home, when I'd fly home from being on tour, I would rent a car and then I'd drive it home from the airport. And then she could drive that car around. Then I'd take her Sequoia and use it as a tow vehicle in the West. And we have both of them wrapped and stuff. And you know what I mean? They both work just fine, either place. But now that I'm mainly on the West Coast, so to speak, other than, going back there and fishing a couple times, yeah, I just run my one tournament boat, and I'll take it back there. Like I said, I fished three Toyota Series all in a row, so I drove back there, and I stayed back there for about a month, fished 3 tournaments, and then I drove home. And then this next in the fall, I'll go out there and fish 4 tournaments in a row, and then I'll drive back home. So,
Wow, that is
yeah.
some commitment to the sport, man. Congrats, that's awesome. It's one of those things. Now you asking that, and it's like, well, I'll just go right into this into the beginning of the show here. So you're fishing back east, you're fishing this stuff here, and then you're fishing out here on the West Coast. How has it been,
Uh-huh.
this new transition, this new Super 60 compared to those events back there? How have you enjoyed it, not enjoyed it? Are you kind of like, what,
Mhm.
it's just something else to fish, or what?
I think I'm still getting a feel for it. I mean, I haven't had much success the first couple events on the Super 60. But even at Mojave, we went to Mojave. I was like, all right, man,
Yeah.
I'm in. And the first day I caught a decent bag, and the next day I can't remember what I had, but it was nothing, and fell out of it. And so that was kind of a bummer. But that's fishing. That's how it goes. But yeah, I haven't had a lot of success on the Super 60 yet. But the places that we go and the style and everything. I fished the Bass Pro Tour where it was catch, weigh, and release, for many years, 5 years. So
Yeah.
that all fish matters type of format it makes sense to me. So I think I can figure it out eventually, and hopefully I'll get a couple high spots here and there and have some good tournaments. But man, I'm thankful to have the opportunity to fish it. That's for sure. It gives me a great platform out here in the West, and it's very helpful for my overall season to have that available. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to feel good. You're not. I mean, like you said, you were down in Mojave. You're basically from that area. How far away is Mojave from your? I know, because I know one of your
About an
sponsors,
hour and a half.
Anderson. An hour and a half.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
It,
so
yeah.
it was what, Anderson Toyota, right? That was who
Hmm.
you like. Is that one
Yeah.
of your
There's
sponsors?
it is. Yeah. They've been with me since 2015.
Wow.
And, they were probably they were the catalyst to get me to go fish back east. They really pushed for me and helped me and allowed me to go fish the Bass Opens. And when I fished the Bass Opens, I ended up winning the AOI in the Central and qualified for the Elite Series and got me onto the Elite Series. And then after the first year of the Elite Series, they, everybody broke off and was going to the Bass Pro Tour. And I mean, I was happy at the Elite Series. I was fine there. I didn't have any
Right.
problem. All these guys were griping about all these issues. And I was like, dude, I mean, I think it's great. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
But when it came down to it, they gave me an invite to go fish the Bass Pro Tour. And me and my wife talked about it. And it came down to like, you should go wherever Kevin Van Dam's going. That's probably where if you can go fish with Kevin, you better go fish with Kevin. You know what I mean? So that's what I
Well,
ended up doing.
that's not a good plan, because he just retired. So you're done fishing?
I know. Well, so did I. I retired from the Bass Pro Tour at least, but
Yeah.
I still, I'm not done fishing by any means. I'm not even close to retiring. I'll do it for many years, I'm sure, as long as my health and everything else keeps going, which I'm just as rowdy as I've ever been. So I'm ready to go.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, to talk
Yeah.
about that, and it's funny because people see, like Ish Monroe, Bryant Smith,
Mhm.
even Christian Ostrander. Those are all guys who are kind of traveling
Sure.
around doing the whole thing. And I really think you just
Hmm.
fly under the radar. And I'm glad that I've got you on the show to talk about this because not to be disrespectful or anything, but it's like I never even really, heard about you at that point. It's like, wow, I did not know that you did all that you do. And I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad I got you here to talk about this. This is, and I'm glad to see it. It gives me a new look when I see you up on the stage up there. It's like, wow, here's this, here's Roy Hawk coming in. That's awesome.
No, that's cool.
I think those guys are the names that most people think of when they talk about, like you said, a Kevin Van Dam's and those. But I think,
Uh-huh.
as a kid kind of growing up, I mean, Kevin was not the guy, for me it was Shaw Grigsby, but it was
All right.
it
Sounds
was
awesome.
oh, I love Shaw. Yeah, he's great. I had him on the show a few
I had
times
the, I had the,
now.
I had the pleasure of fishing with him, against him and stuff, and hanging out with him for quite a few years, and it was a blessing in my life to be able to hang out with him. He's a really awesome person.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that when I was getting into this sport, he was one of the driving forces behind it because I loved his attitude. I loved his enthusiasm for the sport was much like what you're talking about right now. Is this like, he's out there doing the whole thing out there. This is what I want to do. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to be doing. And the guy's, and I don't know exactly his age right now, but the guy's still out hunting
Uh-huh.
alligators on for fun
Yeah,
on the
I guess
weekend.
you follow him on Facebook.
Oh no, I mean I fought no,
That's pretty awesome.
I've known him for a long
Yeah.
time and it's just funny. I talk to him and I'm like, "What are you doing?" "Well, you know what? I'm going gator hunting this weekend." I'm like, "All right, get out there and have
He
some
loves
gator
it.
hunting." Yeah,
He loves that stuff,
he
dude.
he really does. And I mean, he's not a young whipper. It's not like he's in his 20s, or 30s or 40s even,
No,
he's up there and
he's
it's
getting,
like, wow, he's just out there enjoying life and it's, getting out there with his grandkids and that sort of thing and having fun. So, yeah, and you know
that
what?
is
To
cool.
talk to you right now, I just hear that same enthusiasm in your voice about fishing. I mean, you're not out there gator hunting or nothing, but you know what? You love the fishing and
Yeah.
you're willing to travel all over the place. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Right
great
on.
to hear. But I guess we've kind of talked a little bit about what you do and where you do it. Now let's talk about how you do it. This is one of those times of years that I think it's a fun time of year because this is when
Hmm.
frog fishing, topwater fishing, that sort of thing really come into play. But it's also that time
Yeah.
of year when it gets tough sometimes. And I'd love to hear from you about how do you make it through those tough times in the summer and how do you kind of attack a lake when especially one that maybe you don't fish all the time because that's what I think
Hmm.
most of our listeners are. They're guys and gals that go out there and they fish lakes that they only get to see, maybe once a month or sometimes only twice once every other month because most people work
Hmm.
for a living, and they have to
Sure.
fishing is what they enjoy to do and to get to hear somebody like you tell a little bit about how you would approach it in the summer and how you'd go after it, that'd be
Hmm.
great to hear. So let's talk about that right there, is how do you kind of go out there and attack lakes for summertime?
I'll tell you what, kind of in a lot of areas out in the West, we're still kind of in that early summer. So we're still getting like a lot of just edge fishing stuff, just like you said, like topwater, frog fishing, this, that. Once it gets more later into the summer, which we're getting close to that in my area, living down here at Havasu. I mean,
Right.
our days are around 115 right now. So
Whew.
they're hot. It's hot. But our lake, just real quick, our lake is cold water discharge out of Mojave. So the actual water temperature stays down pretty low. So our fish still act like, a fish that was maybe at Clear Lake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas it's not like, it's not 100-degree water temperatures. You know what I mean?
All right.
So they still act kind of right. They don't get totally messed up, but yeah, that type of thing. But the real deal, like when, we can all do that, but when it gets down to it and we get into that hard summer deal, and like you said, it starts getting tough.
Right.
The very first thing, like if I showed up to a lake that I'd never been to or only been to a couple times or something, I would look for, number one, you want to look for oxygen and water movement. So you're going to go to high energy areas like inflowing rivers, um, outside grass. Grass produces oxygen, and Anywhere you have current and grass together, that's going to be a high percentage area. Anywhere where you can add, like grass, water moving, and things like that all together, I mean, it's a high percentage area. Look for wind blown areas, anywhere where the wind's blowing in, crossing over a point, that type of stuff. Any type of energy zone, I would definitely look for that. That's what I call an energy zone, like where there's flowing water. You get back into areas that are real stagnant or slow moving and that type of stuff, it's going to be even tougher. So it'll concentrate fish, it'll activate fish. As the oxygen increases, the fish will get more active in the summer. That'll be a big driving force. In low light conditions, just in theory, it doesn't always work, but in low light conditions, like first thing, like if your lake has like rock and grass, maybe very first thing, try and hit those transition of rock to grass areas, and then as the day progresses, then start fishing more in the grass. The reason being is every day a plant is like living and dying, so to speak. So once it doesn't have the sunlight, it's dying. And then as it gets sunlight, it starts to live again and starts to grow and produces oxygen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the fish will transition to the outside edge of the grass. They'll transition, they'll move around. Like here's a great example here at this lake. Like if I fish like a real night tournament, like till like midnight or something, dude, there's like all kinds of big ones swimming around on the rocks. But you go out in the middle of the day, you're not going to find no big ones on the rocks. They're all in the grass and habitat and stuff. It's funny, but I think that's one of the reasons why is because the oxygen levels.
We're going to take a short commercial break and talk to you about one of our great sponsors, StoreQuest Self Storage. They're here to help you get your garage back. As an outdoor enthusiast, you have gear, lots of expensive gear, equipment, boats, trailers, and vehicles, probably all stored in your garage. You need a storage space that's easy to access, secure, and climate controlled. And that's where StoreQuest comes in. Head over to storequest.com. Plus, members receive an exclusive 10% discount with the offer code BAM10. That's BAM 10. StoreQuest is the official self-storage partner of the BAM Tournament Trail.
It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
I was gonna ask that. Is it like just because of the oxygen, or is it like, hey, at nighttime there's the creatures start moving around, crawdads come out, bait gets a little more. I don't know. I would think bait gets a little more skittish at night.
Yeah, I would too. There's muggers out there in the dark,
Right, exactly.
Gonna get you. But yeah, I think the bait fish do the same type of thing. There's a lot of activity in the grass, once the sun comes up and gets going, and whereas at night everything kind of lays low around the grass. And I mean, I've caught a lot of fish in grass at night, but a higher percentage thing is fishing the outside edge or fishing the confluence of rock, wood, rock, rock, grass, that type of stuff.
Right.
But those high energy zones, like where you have, wind blown areas, anything that you can add some type of movement, some type of disturbance, inflowing creeks. When you get a thunderstorm, fishing those run-ins, sometimes in the very back of the run-in, it'll be really muddy, but you just come out to like the edge of it, that type of thing. It's guaranteed. Same thing like at Shasta, like in the winter, we go fish all those run-ins, and those fish just congregate around it, all the oxygen and bugs and food and everything coming in. Same type of thing. You want to try and fish those high energy type of areas for sure. Give you your best advantage.
I'm gonna have you I'm gonna put this question out there because it is something that a lot of people, we think about this. We all grew up where you got to be up. It's summertime, and you got to be up at 2 a.m, get on the lake by 4 sunlight, and be out there. And is it such a thing? in the wintertime, I've always said, it's like I'm not getting up that early to go anywhere. So it's,
Yeah.
I don't need to be sitting out there on the water in the pitch
Mm,
dark and when it's raining and it's
yeah.
cold. Is summertime that time that you want to hit that for make a point to be
Y-
on the water at first light? And does it just
If we're not,
stop in this? And does
well,
it just stop in the middle of the day? It's like people think, oh, okay,
it,
well, it's time to get off the water because you know what, fish don't bite it at when it's high and hot.
yeah, they absolutely do bite during the day for sure. And that can actually be some of the best fishing. Again, the oxygen levels are going to be higher and things like that around the grass. And I've had some tremendous topwater days, right in the middle of the day. A lot of these lakes, not every individual one, but a lot of them, as the air temperature increases, everyone starts turning on their air conditioners. They just have to start running water. They start pulling water. You get moving water. The fish get activated. It could be 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They're blasting topwater.
Wow.
So yeah, for sure. Even in stagnant areas, I mean, you gotta kind of change your approach. Like maybe if you had a really good grass bed where you're catching them on the outside, around 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and it starts getting slow, you might have to get in there and punch. Get underneath those mats and dig around a little bit and get a little tighter. That type of stuff. But yeah, there's always opportunities throughout the day. I would say, my favorite in the summer is actually the right before dark. Like if you're
Okay.
just fishing for fun, not tournament related,
Right.
unless we start having night tournaments or evening tournaments, which I would be 100% for, we could get up around, like you said, get up around 10,
I like
fish
those
till
days.
dark.
Hey, trust me, when you
But
guys are
there's,
getting up at 3 and 4 in the morning, Mark's getting up that time. I am just rolling back over to go to keeping sleeping. So
the,
I'm on the stage. I don't need to be up there that early. It's one of those
we,
things too. Is there a bait that you're talking about some punching and stuff? Is there a
mhm.
bait that Roy Hawk is the master of? Are you, hey, you know what? I dominate when it comes to this.
Just on, if you look back at like wins and money finishes and where I've had success, if you look at it like that, it's things with treble hooks, crankbaits,
Okay.
topwater, that type of stuff. A little bit of finesse mixed in there. I've won some pretty major stuff with a mix of cranking and finesse. Um, but yeah, probably things,
So,
a lot of people know that I'm a I'm pretty good at cranking.
so you really like
Just
to be pretty much just a power fisherman with a finesse background.
yeah, yeah. I lean on a finesse when I have to for sure. It's definitely helped me out a lot. And flipping, I love to flip.
Yeah.
Um, I love to frog. I won my very first pro tournament frog fishing.
Wow.
That was in 2003. So,
Now was it down
but yeah,
was it down there in the desert?
it was actually. It was before I lived down here. It was
Oh,
my very first pro tournament that I won was a one bass in 2003, October 2003, at Lake Havasu.
wow.
But that was I moved down here like 13 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So
What
it was long
where did
before that.
where did you move from?
I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Oh, wow. That's a heck of a difference right there. Were you just tired of being cold?
It, yeah. When I left there, I gave away all my ice augers, snow shovels, all that stuff, all my ice rods, and yeah, every local lake around Salt Lake has bass in it.
Oh, wow.
Obviously the bass fishing time, isn't really long. It's from, I don't know, May till October type of thing.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of bass around. There's not very many big ones. I mean, you catch a 4 pounder is a pretty good one. And like tournament wise, my closest lake was, partially it was Lake Powell, which was about 4.5, 5 hours from my house. But
Wow.
realistically, real good tournament lake was, Mead, which was about 6 hours from my house.
Wow.
So that was my home lake, was 6 hours from my house.
Wow, that's a tough one to put up with if that's your my home lake's 4.5,
Hmm.
5 hours away. It's like, eh, maybe I'll just move that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah,
So,
eventually I did.
man, that's great though. I mean, you see so much. Now let me ask you this. Is it one of those things,
Uh-huh.
what do you now you live on what I never really thought of, and I really didn't know until I started going down there last year, this year. That's what those lakes that you live on, those lakes that you fish, are some of the clearest water I've ever seen in my life. It is absolutely ridiculous how you can look down 30 feet. And people are like, oh, I have these sunglasses and they help me see. It's like, why? You can
Yeah,
look
why?
down you can look down and see the bottom in 35 feet. It's like, what more do you need? I mean, you can almost tell what color your bait is, when you're fishing it. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's like, do you really like fishing those clear waters, or do you look forward to going to the Delta or going to Clear Lake or going to
Yeah.
let's name a lake that's dirty, you know?
I usually try and find, to start out with our Lake Havasu, it isn't that clear
Okay.
overall. We got a lot more, it's a lot more fertile
Okay.
than like say Mead or Mojave or Powell.
Yeah.
And so overall, it doesn't have quite that clarity. When it's in good shape, like you can see maybe like 10 foot or 12 foot or something like that.
Okay.
But like Mojave is like in the wintertime, it is gin. Like you said, it's 30 foot.
Yeah.
With polarized sunglasses, you can see 35, and with the naked eye, you can see about 25. So
Right.
it's really, really clear. But generally speaking, in any one of the lakes, I'll try and fish areas that have more color to them. Like Mead's a great example. There's what, one, two, three, four kind of major
Mm.
tributaries to Lake Mead, and each one of them offer some off color water. And so
Okay.
you can get up there and fish in muddy water, kind of off color water, kind of stained water, that type of thing, and you can kind of fill a niche.
Okay.
And I target those areas quite often, um, just because that's where I fit the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you said, like I do love going to Clear Lake. I love, believe me, when I'm up at Shasta and the water starts running and it's dirty, that's where I'll be, dude. You know
Right.
what I mean? And
Yeah, especially if
I,
you're a
I love
crankbait
fishing the
fisherman.
Delta. Yeah, yeah, it's going to give me a better advantage. I can flip a little bit more, I can throw a jig around, I can crank a little bit. I don't have to be, uh, quite as stealthy, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And then what's
that's what
your
I do in
what's
general.
your what's your favorite summertime? I mean, top water is one of those things that I think anybody throw.
Mhm.
And I know everybody wants to throw at the frogs and but what is your one top water bait that you just love? Is it just the frog, or is there something else you like in there?
No, I like a walking bait. I throw the
Ah,
Evergreen Justine and the
nice.
Evergreen Shower Blows a lot. The Shower Blows has a lot more commotion. The Justine is for those real slick times. It's a really, really subtle. It's the most amazing topwater bait when you need a bait like that.
Hmm.
It walks back and forth without pulling it forward, and you can make it walk super subtle. It's non-rattling. It's one of the most subtle topwater baits there is, and it's a great little. It's something you want in your pocket, believe me. It's called a
Hey,
Justine. My
Justine
friend
by
Justin
Evergreen,
Kerr
huh?
designed it. Yep. Hardly anybody knows about it, but it's a miracle worker when you need a bait like that. For
Well,
sure.
you
But
just
yeah,
let
the
just let
shower
the
blows a
secret
good
out,
all
man.
around one. Oh, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
I like to see people catch some fish. And I'm not
Yeah, I'm
sponsored by
sure.
them, so
Oh, that's all right. Well, maybe you can be. They're
yeah,
always
I'm
out there.
friends with them. But
Um, yeah,
uh,
and it's one of those things. Summertime is that time when I think everybody thinks of top water, and here around here locally, I have we have the California Delta here with that sort of thing, and I think
mhm.
some of the old school stuff really works. I still see people throwing a lot as just the pop bar, the old fashioned pop bar. Here's a bait that's been around for eons, right? And it's just since the beginning of bass fishing, the pop bar is there, and is that something that works nice in clear water lakes like that when it's so because it's so subtle?
What the flock are you waiting for? California's newest luxury entertainment destination, Chicken Ranch Casino Resort, is ready to play. Experience laid-back luxury in our modern hotel, a casino floor with views of the Sierra, and diverse restaurants and bars that'll keep you squawking for more. Experience the all-new Chicken Ranch Casino Resort, located just 60 minutes from Yosemite National Park. Visit playchickenranch.com to book your trip today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when I look back at my past, I gravitate towards that around bluegill, where you get around like some bluegill shallow, you get around, bluegill beds, in the summer, that type of thing. That's where I tend to gravitate towards it. A little bit on shad stuff, when you get shad balls and just kind of blooping it out there underneath the shad balls, that can work really good. But most of the time in the summer, with the water temperature increase, I'm really, really active. Like, I'm like fishing the topwater really, really fast. And there is some attributes to fishing that pop bar or fishing a Rico or a splash it really fast, just boop, 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 just like popping it along. And I've gotten blasted doing that. I remember John Murray almost won one of the U.S. Opens doing that, fishing a Rico, just out in the middle of a gut, but he was popping the heck out of it. And, but yeah, it's a great bait for sure. But when I really, really draw towards that, it'd be around bluegill. That's where I would first think of it. I would have it as a backup around shadfish, and like busting fish and things like that too. But yeah, that'd be it.
Okay. It's one of those things. You said the Rico. I haven't heard that word in a while now. The Rico. I don't know if they're still in existence or not. I know they were. They are. They were like the top of the line, best thing on the market back in the day. The Rico popper, or the popper. That was crazy. They were like $80 or something for a good one back then.
They're not quite that much anymore, but yeah, they're going strong. They're here in Arizona still, and they still make them, and they still sell great, and they still work tremendous.
It's one of those times a year that guys, people just struggle. What do you talk about the middle of the day like that fishing? It's like, oh, they're still biting, they're still out there, they still go. Do you change anything up really, or do you slow down? Do you speed up? It's summer, it's like it gets hot. Now, as a tournament fisherman, you don't have a choice, right? You're just out there. It's not like, you know what, let's go in and have lunch. that isn't a thing,
Yeah.
What is it that you do in the middle of the day?
It's funny because I really believe it's total opposites. You said both of them there. You're like, do you speed up or do you slow down? Yes, you do both of them. You can burn crankbaits, burn topwaters, that type of thing, and that works out really good at times. And then other times you really got to finesse them. And with the scope, I mean, you're going to get outside, you're going to fish the minnow, you're going to fish drop shot and eco rig, try and look for them on outside stuff when they're out there, and try and just individually pick them off. And that can be a huge player, getting into the summer. You're not going to get all the fish. You're not going to be around all the fish because some of them are going to be up in stuff and hiding. You know what I mean? They're going to be in the grass, under mats, in habitat, in brush piles. You know what I mean? That type of stuff. But yeah, it's both of those things. I would say the worst retrieve in the summer is like a medium retrieve. You know what I mean? Where you're just kind of like reeling a crankbait or just kind of walking the dog, or it seems to be like you're either burning something or you're like almost dead sticking something, or you're you're using forward facing and you're putting it right on their nose.
Okay.
So it's kind of a mix of both of those.
I'm glad you kind of put that out there, the forward facing. I'm gonna start asking this question of guys, and it's a new question I've got for every tournament angler out there. It's like, I can take away your forward facing, or I can take away your spot lock. Which one are you giving up?
For tournament success, man, that's a tough one, bro. That's a tough one. That is a real tough one.
Right?
I would say, I hate to even say it, dude, 'cause I guess forward facing, but I mean, spot lock's so I mean, dude, I'm going to fish middle of the pack in a lot of tournaments
Yeah.
without the scope.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just
I
without it.
get that, and it's just the question
Yeah.
is there because I have said that the biggest game changer in all of bass fishing. Everybody says, "Oh, it's forward
Hmm.
facing sonar. It's ruined bass fishing. It's done this." And I
No,
go,
spot
I
lock.
honestly think spot lock's been the biggest change of
Yeah.
anything. You can be out in the middle of
Power
nowhere.
poles and spot lock.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that is
Yeah.
just the ability to break a line, hit a button, sit down, retie, get up, and you're in the same spot. You're not a mile and a half away.
Yeah.
You're, that was
Yeah.
never a thing, and now it's different with
No,
spot.
you're.
I get with forward facing sonar, and I've talked to guys who are totally against it. I've talked to guys who are totally for it,
Yeah.
and in the end, they both say the same thing. That it's changed fishing, but if it isn't going, you're also in the middle of the field. So
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I
It
don't
is.
know.
It's a super valuable tool, especially in tournament bass fishing. I mean, there's times where you're not even playing the same game if you don't have it. In certain tournaments, there's
Yeah.
some that it doesn't matter as much, some matters less, and some matters exclusively. Like you're not even playing the same game if you don't got it. Some tournaments, for real.
Really? Hmm.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
100%.
that's a an interesting way that people. I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't. It's one of those things that I don't really enjoy talking about it that much. And I've actually
Yeah.
heard it. I've actually heard it put the best way I've ever heard it put is why it's a negative in the sport, and that is because when we are trying to grow into a televised sport, right? We're trying to be
Hmm.
where we reach the masses. Well, you reach the masses with television. Nothing else means
Yeah.
unless you can put it in a stadium, which you can't. You can't put a lake in a stadium and you can't go out and fish it. So you have to
Yep.
have TV time. Nobody wants to watch some guy stare at his screen for 18 hours.
Hmm.
3 days of
Yeah.
fishing, whatever. It's like nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to watch it. It's not enjoyable. It may be good fishing. It
Yep.
may increase your fishing, but it makes for horrible
Yeah, it
TV.
does.
I think the way that
I heard it.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, Mr. Ken Duke. Do you know who he is?
Right.
He's like a master bass fishing statistician, and he did all the numbers on the Bassmaster Elite Series and like the catch rates, for like the whole year, and the bottom, almost the bottom guy with forward facing had the same catch rate as Aaron Martin's in his best years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Um,
it makes a big difference.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's that's saying a
it's
lot because
crazy.
Aaron caught a lot of fish.
Yeah, he was like, basically one of the best, if not the best, any given year, he could be the best. In his best years, his weight and catch rate, was X.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
they take the average catch rate of all the Elite Series, and just even a bottom dweller is catching as good as Aaron now with that technology.
Wow. That
That's
just
insane.
that does sum it up a lot. I mean, yes, it's there and
It does.
it makes it
Now,
I think it hurts a little bit in our recruiting new people, getting the younger people
mhm.
coming up, getting that. I think it's hurt that way in the sense that it makes it very difficult. It's not cheap. It's not like, oh, you go out and
Oh
spend
no,
a couple $100 and you got this. No, you're spending $4,000, $5,000, 6,000, upwards to
100%.
get this thing on your boat, and it makes younger people coming up
Mhm.
not as competitive. You're talking about it's not as competitive, but here it is. It's not only they're not as competitive, but it makes them feel like they're not competitive because they don't have it. So
No, they're buying a $3,000 boat and putting $7,000 electronics on it to be
right,
competitive.
right. That's
You know
a
what I
tough one.
mean? It is.
Yeah, and
It's
it
insane.
makes and it makes those college teams. I look at those college teams, and they have to go out there and try to get their college to put that on there, and that's crazy to think
Yeah.
of. That's just crazy.
If it was just me, just what I think, I mean,
Yeah.
every sport has limitations put on it.
Oh, of course.
There's, we can go into, bats and baseball and, golf balls and,
Oh, 100%.
Race cars. That's a big deal. I mean, everything. And I think we've come to a pinnacle to where there has to be some type of rev limiter on fishing, and pro fishing especially. And I don't think it should be allowed, in pro fishing myself.
Right.
I'm good with it. And like I said, it would be hard to give up the forward facing, because it counts for a lot of my success as well,
Right.
But I mean, there just has to be some type of limit on it. I mean, what's next? Where's it going to go next?
I mean,
It's only going to get better. They got saltwater stuff that's insane, dude.
right.
Where you can actually track a fish. I
You
mean,
just type a little name on
come
top of
on.
it. This is Bob, and that's
Yeah.
Hank over there, and
Yeah.
there's
Yep.
Bertha.
Go to Bob. Troll motor just goes over to Bob. Keep me about 50 feet away from Bob, and I'm going to work on him till he bites. Like crazy.
And I don't know.
So I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't. Like you said, there's limiters on race cars. There's you can't use steroids in baseball anymore. There
Right.
there are so
All
many
kinds
different
of
things that they limit.
Right.
The protect all that stuff. And I don't know. I mean, they did it with bass boats even back in the day. It's like, oh, you can't have your motor can only be this
Right.
big. For safety.
Yeah, it was
that's a
150s.
safety feature. Right.
150s was a long time, man. It was because they wanted to protect the integrity of the original sport.
Right.
Same with like golf and things like that. You want to keep somewhat of the integrity of it. Every year, all these records are getting broke just because of new technology, not because it's a better fisherman. You know what I mean? Necessarily.
Yeah, I mean there's something to be said for that for sure.
And the same, like we just had a free run on baseball. I mean, man, these guys come out all these bats and balls and all kinds of stuff. They'd have to, make stadiums much bigger because they'd be hitting out of the park all the time.
Yeah, once you get to the professional level, you can't use aluminum bats anymore. And that's is it a safety thing? Yes. Is it a home run thing? Of course. Nobody wants nobody wants to see the record at 140. But that's what you would do if you gave professionals, professional baseball players, if you gave them aluminum bats, they would, the home runs would be every other, at bat would be a home run. It's just
exactly.
that way. They're that good. And I think you're right. I think when you talk about this kind of technology, there's something, and I'm not going to say yes or I'm not going to say no. The average angler going out there has it on his boat. He or she is not going to take off that equipment, just to go fish a tournament. So that's where I think it would hurt, is it's like, oh, I own it. Now I have to take it off my boat just so I can go fish a tournament. I don't know.
Yeah, they have ways that they have ways just to lock it out. They have that set up already. Like the Bass Pro Tour, they they fish 2 periods with no forward facing. They have 1 period out of 3 where they can use it, and they lock it out. And like I'm fishing a tournament this fall that's no forward facing, and you just lock it out.
Okay.
The whole time you can leave it on there. I'll take mine right off because we're going to be in grass and stuff. Just a disadvantage you can have it on there if you're not able to use it.
Right.
In the grass.
I was going to say you were talking about Gunnersville. Earlier it was kind of like that's one that I don't know, having that on there might hurt because that is a lot. That is a grassy lake. That is one of those ones that's extreme amount of grass out there, and it I look at a lot of those southern lakes and there's a lot of grass in a lot of them, and that's one of those things that I don't know that I guess I don't own it, so I don't use it, so I don't know what it's like in certain situations, and I'm still old school with all that stuff. It's like, I don't know. I don't have just flashers on my boat. So I have modern electronics, but not, totally forward. We could do that. We could just cut it all back and go, you know what? The first year Bassmaster came out. That's what all you can use. What? Flashers and
That'd be wild, dude.
flashers and stringers. Every fish has to go on a stringer.
Wow. No, no stringers. I can, if it helps the fish, I think it's a positive. But if it, detracts from the sport, it might not be positive.
Right, exactly.
But I,
And that's where we kind of came from.
I think that I don't. Whatever the tournament circuit says, and they decide, I'll just fish whatever. You know what I mean? If I'm allowed to use it, I'm going to be using it. If I'm not allowed to use it, then I'll take it out.
And I think that's really what it comes down to is, it's what everybody decides to do. Bam, we have not, Mark has not made that decision to say yes or no. He's a fan of it. So he goes out and uses it all the time. And there are plenty of anglers that are. It's just one of those things that I don't care either way. I just have you come across the stage and talk to you. That's
I'm kind of the same way. I just do whatever they say I can do. That's it. I don't control any of that. I try not to really have my input affect any of it, unless it's something like super serious. But,
right.
They give me the rules and I go fishing.
Discover Plumas County, where adventure meets tranquility. Nestled in the heart of nature, Plumas County offers endless activities for everyone. Dive into the clear waters of Lake Almanor for wakeboarding thrills and fishing excitement. Whether you're an adrenaline junkie or a fishing enthusiast, Lake Almanor has something for you. Stroll through charming local boutiques and indulge in fine dining experiences that will tantalize your taste buds. From unique shops and gourmet restaurants, Plumas County is a haven for those who love to explore and savor. Immerse yourself in lush forests of pine and fir trees, perfect for camping, hiking, and biking. And don't miss the breathtaking Lassen Volcanic National Park, where you can witness the power and beauty of nature up close. Footloose in Plumas County, your ultimate escape for adventure, relaxation, and unforgettable memories. Visit Plumas County today.
Oh no, I get it, and it's one of those things. When the Alabama rig came out, they wanted to outlaw the Alabama rig in every tournament, and it's like, and nowadays it's like, it's kind of there.
The only thing the only thing I didn't like with the Alabama rig, I took a stance of just one bait, one rod, simplistic approach to the whole thing. What I didn't like is the snag effect of, when you catch one, he's snagged in the side and, he's all tore up and stuff. I mean, I've caught a lot of released fish that are all beat up, up at Clear Lake where they get run through the ringer and stuff. And when they're all tore up and stuff from bait rigging, you know what I mean? Like, damn.
Yeah.
But, throw a big jerk bait or swim bait. I mean, they get it in the side too and things like that. So, I mean, it is what it is. But that was my biggest take on that Alabama rig, was like, we're literally like gaffing them. They'll bite the bait, obviously, but then you're gaffing them and all kinds of stuff. And I think
it comes down. It's funny. I never used it during the summer, and I know guys do all the time. But it's like, I never figured that thing out for the summer. It was, for me, it was always a pre-spawn, and a late in the season, early, late fall, going into winter, that sort of thing. That bait was great then, but during the summer, I never had any success. And I have my personal best comes on it. So I love that bait.
Well, you just got to put frogs on it.
I gotta have 3 frogs. Well, gotta have 3 frogs on that thing, holding them out there. I'll put 2 on the outside. That way they're just teasers, and then I'll try to flop that thing into the middle of the back of the tulies. Open water fishing. That would be an interesting thing, coming across the top of those big old, cheese mats. 5 frogs on a wire.
Mm-hmm. Well, you gotta have one long one in the back. Because after he misses the first one, then you're pulling the next one into the hole.
I will tell you that the day you can tell me how to fix that problem, I was just at the Delta 2 weekends ago. I was down there fishing, and I mean, right off the bat, I'm throwing a frog on top. I hit that grass. It's like, oh man, this is beautiful. Something probably close to 4 or 5 pounds comes up and just rolls and misses it. It's like, okay, how do you survive? It's like, how do you get them to eat a frog better? I mean, and maybe I should ask Ish Monroe because that guy is a freaking master at it. But
Yeah,
it's one of those
he
things,
is.
if you fish that frog a lot too. Is there some special technique? And this is for everybody listening right now. Is there a special technique that you do that makes them get that thing better?
Well, I think it changes per day and per situation and all kinds of stuff. Like sometimes if you throw it in there and you're fishing it kind of fast and one swirls on it, sometimes it's best just to fire right back in there, fish a little bit slower. And then the other thing would be to, reel that bait in and then pitch something in there. You know what I mean? Throw a
Yeah.
flapping hog, a Texas rig flapping hog in there, and a lot of times you'll get them. And like in practice or as the day, you just got to kind of try that stuff. And you get success with one of the options, and then you start running with it. Next time you miss one, then you're pitching a flapping hog in there, and then you catch him. And then it's like, all right, I know what to do. In other days, it'll be they just want the frog. You
Right.
pitch whatever back in there, and they just ignore it. You know what I mean? And then you throw the frog back over, and they swirl on it again. So you got to try faster, slower. Sometimes it's a color thing, but most of the time it's a movement thing.
Yeah.
And then just the individual fish. A lot of times at the Delta, what I've seen too, which was kind of, I hadn't really seen it in a lot of other places because the water level fluctuates.
Right.
They eventually, they'll get in a good mat and stuff when the tide's up. And then when the tide starts dropping, they literally don't have enough room to tip up and eat up forward, but they'll still swipe at it.
Right.
It might only be like a foot deep or something. And they literally can't really tip up enough to even eat the frog effectively, but they'll still go for it. They'll try.
Yeah, exactly. Makes sense.
So that's something to think about, too, is in that type of situation. That could be one reason why they're not getting it is because they're really trying, but they just can't,
Yeah.
or the mat's too thick or, whatever.
So you don't feel like when they blow up through that, they don't leave the area. They're still there.
No, they're close by for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things, especially when you're throwing a bait like the frog where it's, you're throwing on that cheese mat or you're throwing just in open water. I think an open water color makes a heck of a difference. On cheese mats, not as much. But it's one of those things that it's one of those things that you start that movement. So when you get that blow up, and I think people just think, man, I missed him, darn it, and they just keep going to the next one. Next one. But if you see him, it's kind of like, hey, they gave away their position. They're right there somewhere. Fish back in there and see if you can get him.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely do that first. I would try and get that fish because you know where it is. It's so hard to figure out where one is. I mean, you might be another hour till you get another swirl,
Right.
And one is right there. I would take 3 or 4 or 5 or sometimes even more casts than that at that area. And first, absolutely. I mean, if it comes down to it to where you never get a second bite, you know what I mean? I mean, eventually you probably, your best option is just kind of give up on that. If he doesn't get it, then move on. But I would say that it's definitely a higher percentage chance to refish that area where you had the bite, that you're going to get another bite. And hopefully you'll be able to get a take,
Yeah.
You get a fish in the box.
Get a quality keeper out of what you just. I mean, because most of the time, I mean, when I'm fishing frog, I'm not thinking I'm looking for 2-pounders. Now that doesn't mean I don't catch them. It's just one of those things. I'm looking for that,
I know what you mean.
that 5+ pounder. That's what I'm looking for. I think that's what everybody's looking for when they think of big topwater. They're throwing a frog. It's like, boom! I want that 5-pounder. It's summertime. They're supposed to be there, right? So,
or a 10, right?
Right, or a 10. Yeah, I mean,
or 10.
I guess if you're gonna wish for a big fish, wish for a big fish, right?
That's right.
Don't go out looking for the smallest ones. Go out looking for the giants. Roy, it is we're about 10 minutes out, and I told you at the beginning that this is when, everybody just listened to you talk for a while, gave some great information out there, talked about all kinds of different stuff in bass fishing, and that's kind of what this show's all about, is talking about some bass fishing. But now it's that time where everybody goes, cool, that was Roy Hawk. Who the hell's that guy? Let's figure out who I just talked about, who did I just listen to? And this is your time, man, where I give it, talk about your sponsors, talk about who you are, what you do. And you know what? this is your time of the show, so have at it, man.
Right on. Well, I'm a professional fisherman. It's been full time since 2007, and I'm mainly West Coast, but travel to the East Coast a little bit here and there too. This year I'll make a couple trips back east, one in spring, one in the fall, and I love fish. And anybody who wants to follow me can follow me at Instagram at Fishing Hawk, and Roy Hawk Fishing on Facebook, or Roy Hawk on Facebook. Sometimes they can get me on that one. It's pretty much full, but occasionally people drop off or die or whatever, and another spot becomes available. Or just Roy Hawk Fishing on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter and things like that, but I don't post much on there or do anything. But you can always reach out to me there. But yeah, anybody I can help anybody, they can reach out to me anytime. I get a lot of messages and questions and things like that, and I'm always willing to help anybody out. And a lot of times it's just tournament stuff, like, hey, where's a good place to stay, or does that lake have grass in it? You know what I mean? Things like that. So anything I can ever do and to help anybody out, just reach out to me anytime, and appreciate all the love I get, and got some great sponsors, Anderson Toyota, and really just Anderson Auto Group overall. Anderson Auto Group has Ford and Chevy and Nissan and Toyota, just about anything you could ever want in a vehicle, and they support the fishing industry as a whole. They sponsor circuits like you guys all the way out in California, some other ones. Whenever tournament circuits come to town, we always feed them. They bring them right into the dealership and feed them and take care of them. And they do so much for the fishing community. Anybody that needs a vehicle, man, at least give them a shot at your business. We really appreciate it. They can reach out to me directly or Anderson Toyota. They got a lot of the salesmen or fishermen and things like that. Or that you can just reach out to me, and I'll get you in touch with one of the fishy type of guys, and they can hook you up and take care of it. So, from Alaska to sea. So this is been with Gary Yamamoto Baits for about 30 years. My career is based around their products, and that's for me, all the years and all the wins and everything, man. Been a blessing to me. A little bit different thing, but still great. And the brother and sister companies of Yamamoto now are tremendous companies, like with Rattle Trap, Bill Lewis and Big Bite Baits, and there's a whole conglomerate of really good products. So those are all out there. Been with Taipan Rods for about 10 years. They're a custom-made U.S. manufacturer of rods, lifetime warranty. They're mid-200s. I got a whole series of rods that I designed for fishing reaction baits mainly, from frogging to cranking, and they're out of Yuma, Arizona. It's like I said, they're 100% U.S. made. There's only a few companies out in the United States that actually roll their own blanks, and this is one of them. They sell blanks to other manufacturers that other people are, creating rods with, and people are buying and using. So, but yeah, real high quality rods. Yeah, variety of other, partners and things like that. That's probably the main ones, to get out there to the world that, make a big difference in, for sure.
Well, Roy, thanks for all of that information, man. I hope people do reach out. Do you guide at all or anything like that?
No, you have to have a 6-pack license here on the Colorado River.
Oh, okay.
And I don't have a 6-pack, so I'm not a legal guide here. I've thought about it, and when I get a little closer to like a retirement type of thing, I might do it.
Okay, so
but that's a whole different world.
So when you're in Arizona, you have to
Mhm.
make sure that you have Corona on the boat. Is that what you're saying?
Coronas no 6-pack license. Yeah,
6-pack license.
No, it's a Coast Guard license. Anything that attaches to the ocean, like the Colorado River, in theory does. Like on the Delta, you'd have to have it and things like that. Where on like Lake Pleasant, you don't need it, and like Clear Lake, you don't need a 6-pack license, but
Yeah. Okay.
you can just have your regular state guide license. But yeah,
All right, well,
one day I may do the guiding thing. I've thought about it, and I can make some really good money. If I'm not fishing one of the 40 tournaments in a year. But
well, that's kind of where I was at. It's like some guys always, augment their income a little bit with some guiding and that sort of thing on lakes that they're, their home lakes, just to make a little bit more. But the way you talked about it is you don't have a lot of time for that. I mean, if you're doing
I
this,
don't.
that no other job. This guy, this is all he does is fish, man. So I'll tell you what,
Mhm.
I will always say this, Roy, thanks for doing this show. I really appreciate it. And yet, everybody, if you didn't get anything out of this show, you know what you need to do? Listen to it again, because he just dropped a bunch of information on you on how to approach some summertime bass fishing. And that's what we're in right now. We are just minutes away from summertime. The high heat, everything.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one thing. we were down in Mojave, and everybody's down there. It's like, oh, it's so nice. It was only like 99, 102. Great. they were very proud about that. But you know what? You're going, oh, it's still only 115, so we're fine. Great.
Yeah.
I'm glad we go down there early.
I fished up at Lake Mead last weekend. We had the last ABA team tournament up there, and it was like 102 or something like that. And everyone's like, "Man, it's freaking hot." I'm like, "Dude, this is nice, dude." I'm telling you.
You're out there in a hoodie.
Yeah, it was a gem. We actually won that tournament, so that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Roy. Well, thanks again, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we're going to get out of here. And in 2 weeks, we'll be back with another great angler just like Roy Hawk right here. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.